Hi, it's Dwyer, dwyervip.com, gamblersadvisory.com. Let me follow up on a video I made just a few hours ago that's received some provocative comments here online. I encourage you to go to the comment section of that video and read the comments. Right, the video concerned Floyd Mayweather's undisclosed, let's be clear here, undisclosed IV. Right, and by undisclosed, I mean undisclosed to the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Right, undisclosed IV after the weigh-in before his fight to Manny Pacquiao. Now, many of you here online have pointed out that the USADA cleared Floyd. Right? The argument is that they gave him a therapeutic exemption. Right? The exemption didn't register until after the fight. Some of you have pointed out that the USADA claims that they had someone present, that the IV was monitored by a USADA paramedic or someone with authority from the USADA. Now let me counter that argument. Let me point out how ridiculous the idea of Floyd quietly getting an IV, in my opinion, after the weigh-in is. You know, first, let me point out that getting saline and vitamins through an IV isn't allowed. It's prohibited, folks, by the World Anti-Doping Agency. Right? It's prohibited. Not allowed. Because IVs allow the body to do certain things. Right? Hide possible PED use. So it's simply not allowed by WADA, the WADA. Now the USADA claims to be following the WADA's rules. Just understand that they did not here. Right? They didn't. Now let's go one step further, because we know this fight was under the auspices of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Right? That's what boxing commissions do. Now let me ask a loaded question. Why wasn't this disclosed to the Nevada State Athletic Commission? Keep in mind, Manny Pacquiao's team was under scrutiny from the Nevada State Athletic Commission for not disclosing a shoulder injury going into the fight. Right? Isn't there some background issue on whether Pacquiao should have been allowed to take pain medication? Just Google all of these issues. Right? Now, here you're telling me that a fighter got an IV that's not allowed by the WADA and chose not to disclose it to the Nevada State Athletic Commission? Why the non-disclosure? I thought the dog and pony show leading into this fight was that there was going to be drug testing and everything was going to be out in the open. Why the non-disclosure? Doesn't this defeat the very arguments for drug testing? Now I understand, let's be fair here, right, that some USADA personnel was around when this IV was administered. Isn't it an open question to you right now whether Manny Pacquiao knew about this IV? Whether his camp was actually told about this IV? Whether Pacquiao was even offered the opportunity to have this saline and vitamins ID that's prohibited by the World Anti-Doping Agency? Right. Did he get the opportunity or not? Was this disclosed to him or not? Or was he treated like the Nevada State Athletic Commission? Right? Folks, there are troubling questions here. Understand, too, many people are curious about why the U.S. ADA would deviate from the protocol of the World Anti-Doping Agency. Doesn't that raise an alarm bell for you? Did you know, as you were watching this fight, that the testing agency involved, the US ADA, had deviated from the protocol of the World Anti-Doping Agency? Did you know that either fighter had gotten an IV that had not been disclosed to the Nevada State Athletic Commission? Right now, if we're talking about legacy, if you, like me, believe that Floyd Mayweather was the poster child for boxers who wanted level playing fields, for boxers who wanted transparency in drug testing, right? In my opinion, this is troubling news. Very troubling, right? Let me say this too. Don't you believe that there was a benefit received from Floyd being able to get an IV after the weigh-in? Don't you? In fact, if there's no benefit, then why would the World Anti-Doping Agency ban the IV procedure? Right? Understand, saline and vitamins, they're acceptable drugs. But there are many ways to get saline and vitamins into your system. Now, if the World Anti-Doping Agency doesn't believe that IVs is a legitimate way to do so, for whatever reason, right, then aren't you concerned that an IV was used in this case? Right? My problem is with the hypocrisy of the whole thing. Right? It's simply unclear whether it was disclosed to Pacquiao's camp. It's simply unclear why it wasn't disclosed to the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Right? It's simply unclear why there's any deviation from the World Anti-Doping Agency's protocol. Right? Understand, there are many people concerned with the relationship between Floyd and the US ADA. Just understand that if the World Anti-Doping Agency had been in charge of this, right, it would never have happened. So, I understand the issue is cloudy. Just understand that when you're hearing folks say, oh, it was approved after the fact. In other words, the commission didn't know about it when it happened. It wasn't disclosed to the commission. You're hearing that more than 2 weeks after the match, oh, this was approved. To me, that's an unsatisfactory explanation. Right? It's completely unsatisfactory. Let me say this too. If you're about to fight a guy, this is post weigh-in, so the fight's hours away, maybe a day away, and you hear the guy is getting an IV for saline and vitamins, right? Shouldn't you have the opportunity? Well, first off, shouldn't you hear that information? Second, shouldn't you have the opportunity to get the same IV? Does this sound to you like a level playing field? Now, as you look at the Mayweather legacy, how big a fight is this to his legacy? Isn't this, his fight against Pacquiao, the highest grossing fight of his career? Aren't you concerned that there was a deviation from World Anti-Doping Agency protocol? That an IV which is illegal under the World Anti-Doping Agency's protocol was actually involved in this fight, and that IV was not disclosed beforehand to the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Folks, in a fight of this magnitude, things like this are a problem. Right? Let me say this too. I was struck by how the United States ADA, right, the US ADA's response, tried to take Victor Conte to task, right? Tried to point out that Victor Conte had had legal problems in the past, right? To the US ADA, all I can say is, why don't you comment on the content of what Victor Conte had to say? Is an IV administered in this fashion, right, for saline and vitamins, proper under the World Anti-Doping Agency? Is that question that hard to answer? Right? And to the parties involved in the event, was the IV disclosed to the Nevada State Athletic Commission? Was the IV disclosed to Pacquiao's camp so Pacquiao would have had an opportunity to have a similar IV done after the weigh-in? Are any of these questions that out of bounds? Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. In the bigger picture, the point I'm making is this IV scandal is going to have legs. It's going to be something people think about down the road when you're assessing the legacy of a fighter who wants to be considered TBE, the best ever. Right? You know, when we're talking about greats, I'm telling you, I talk about football with a lot of people, and they're concerned about Deflategate and Tom Brady. Right? Why? Because Tom Brady's in the conversation with people like Unitas and Joe Montana. The reason this scandal is huge is because of the magnitude of the fight and because of the legacies of the people involved. Right? Understand, Floyd Mayweather made a big deal about drug testing. You're telling me that he may have had an IV that did not conform with World Anti-Doping Agency guidelines? Why would he do that? Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online, more comments, and I also hope you look at the comments of the people who have responded to the earlier video. Right? A lot of information is being shared here online. I know I've learned a lot of facts here reading some of the comments and doing some further research. Thanks for stopping by.